Randy says, does anyone have a good recommendation to send out Christmas cards to clients easily? Nathan says, the easiest way to grow your business is to reallocate your hours towards revenue generating tasks. Whitney says, I'm looking for a WordPress plugin to generate SEO audits for prospects. Any suggestions? What's up, guys? Are we actually live? Facebook, come on, I believe in you. There we go. Excited to see you guys again. Woo! You know, probably the rest of the world doesn't think that what we do is all that exciting, but I think it's the coolest shit ever. Like anywhere, like we're building these cool laptop businesses. Many of you guys spend all your day with your families, which most people dream about. Many of you guys live in cool places in the world and have some crazy stories to tell, and you guys go to courses and masterminds and you learn stuff and you read stuff. So I dig what you guys are building. Quick little announcement before we get started. This is just a little heads up that we are building an affiliate program so that you can sell our stuff and keep 100% of the money. By helping us grow this and do this cool thing and share this goodness with other agency owners, I want to give you guys some extra little side hustle money that you don't have to do anything for, other than just refer somebody who makes sense. So anyways, we are finishing some of the tech side of that, but when that is done, which will likely be locked and loaded beginning new year, potentially before that, but I'll keep you guys posted. And happy to have that. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing some upgrades in 2024 to the Wolfpack. So for those of you guys who are interested in that, there's a link below. That video that is on that page is about to change and get a little facelift. And that's that. So let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Ba-dum-bum-bum-ba-dum. As some of you guys can tell, I watched too much wrestling as a kid. Anyways, let's get into the questions. Randy says, does anyone have a good recommendation to send out Christmas cards to clients easily? Yes, I have two, depending on what you want to do. So behind door number one is a service called Handwritten, and the Y in written, or the written is spelled with a Y, I should say. And what they do is they send handwritten letters, like it's actually a robot that writes like a handwritten font. So it looks like you personally took the time to sit and write a note to a client and send it to them, and that you like really care. It's a little pricier than the other options, about $3-4 a letter, something like that. Nothing too crazy, but well worth it for those of you guys got a $2,000 a month client and above. And then there's another service we use called Click to, like the number, mail. And Click to Mail allows for mass personalization. I should say both of those services, why we like them. You can personalize it, meaning like say you got 100 clients, you're really sending them all the same letter, but there's little details that change. Like one is going to Frank, one is going to Doug, one is going to Ken, one is going to Jason. And so the first name changes every time, right? So you can personalize where just like a mailing list, it'll replace that every time. So you can send 100 unique letters, but only have to do it one time in the system, and it automatically updates all the names. So that's what we like about it. You can do like mass personalization, which is like crazy interesting when you play with that. So those are the two we use that work for us. Handwritten, written with a Y. We actually have had the founder of there, David I always say his name, David Vax. Interestingly enough about David is that I was actually a customer of his for like 3 years before I found out he ran it, and we had him on the show. So that's cool. And then, of course, Click to Mail. Anyway, let's get on the next question. I hope that's helpful, Randy. Javaria says, hey, Frankie, thanks for getting back to me. And yeah, remember the metaphor from one of your trainings that I bought. What you were saying makes total sense. My last question is that this strategy will give them validation for burning me as a marketing person if they make a sale. But it's the first time they are investing in paid ads, and they're hiring me as a media buyer. They're looking for a way to validate their decision of investing in ads. Is there an easy way to kind of let them see the ROI on it ASAP, since I know their project projects are not an impulse purchase and pricey. So we kind of had a little private chat on this, but I thought this would be useful to a few of you guys. So in her case, she's dealing with a market where they have like a long sales cycle. So like it's not typical, like, you know, like an impulse buy to me is like you see a chocolate bar at the grocery store counter, you buy it, you don't, but it's either like it's very yes or no. You make the decision very, very quickly. But like if you're gonna move across the country, you probably think about that decision at least for a little bit, like where are we going to go, you know, what neighborhood, let's research some things. Like there's usually a process by which you arrive at that decision. So when you're in markets like this, like often if what they really want from you are sales, and there's an easy way to find out, by the way, is just to ask them this magic question, which will free you, because part of the reason I think a lot of people struggle with this is they think their job is to be a certain label, like you said, media buyer, or I'm a copywriter. And I think we just help people like grow businesses. We're more like growth partners, and not like, hey, I'm your media buyer that works for you. Like that to me, like, I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm just saying like that to me is like employee mentality, which is not what you want to bring in business. So what I would ask first of all is like, do you want the paid ads, or are you really just after the sales behind the paid ads? And chances are they'll tell you, well, we just really want the sales. We'd probably like the paid ad system to work as well, but we're probably just more interested in, like, you know, actually generating some revenue. And so I always say, like, you know, the goal line running back, there are opportunities. And the reason I mention this to you is before I turned on a cold ads machine, because even if you do it perfectly today, if they have a 3-month buying cycle, then it'll be 90 days before they see any meaningful return. And on day 70, they're going to probably ask you a lot of questions and things like that. So there's no right or wrong in this. Like it's your business and you get to run it the way you want. But what I'm suggesting is more just like to make your life easier, which is help them with a few of the, what I call, like, close to the goal line opportunities. Like if you guys think about like the people who are building the Go high level SaaS agencies, well, what they're doing is they're just helping people with the close to the goal line opportunities. As Cole comes in and says, hey, will you buy my shit? As opposed to buy my shit, fucker. Our man Cole. Woo! That's just for you, buddy. So in your case, like, it's really up to you. If you really, really want to sell paid ads and like be a media buyer, and there's plenty of good reasons to do that. And usually especially if you love buying media and you enjoy that process, then go for it. You have to be very, very good on the expectation setting that, like, hey, even if I brought you somebody today, it'll take 3 months to close them. So know that like the seeds we're planting today are for the garden tomorrow, but you're not going to like become an overnight millionaire. Right? We got to work the process. We got to generate the leads. We got to follow up with these people. We got to send them a proposal, whatever it is, right? Like you have to be very, very clear with them about that expectation setting. What I think personally would make your life easier is just find the people who already almost bought the shit, got a quote, got almost like 99% of the way to the goal line, and just send those people a little email or a little text and say, you know, hey, we miss you. Is there anything we can do to win you over on that job or something like that? And you'd be amazed. They'll just be like, oh, shit, man, I got busy. Like, if they have 500 people who almost bought whatever their long sales cycle custom thing is, and you send a message to 500, like, 5 or 10 of those people will come out of the woodwork and say, shit, like, I totally slipped my mind, but I wanted to buy this thing. And they'll be amazed because they made 5 or 10 sales. And the reason I like to do that, even if my long-term plan is to run media buying, is because it creates that quick win for the client, and then they believe you when you say, okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take 90 days, but it'll be worth it, because like seeing is believing, right? Like the hardest part of this whole marketing agency game in so many ways is that like we as an industry have a really bad fucking reputation and clients don't trust you. So like the faster you can do something to build trust, the easier that whole thing in your life is going to be with them. So, that's my 2 cents. If you want to show them an ROI in actual sales, then like take those close to the goal line opportunities. So I hope that's helpful. Jeremy says, "Hey Frankie, I have a question. You're very gracious in answering questions. Maybe this is something you can share in your group. I'm looking to grow an ad agency this year, and at first I was thinking I'll just have my team run ads for free for 30 days, but truth is I have no experience in ads whatsoever. I can see the opportunity in a specific niche, and they are taking a huge risk putting money down for ads. Then I thought, well, I have spent my own money, $1,000 for the first month on ads, and clients, if they're happy, then sell them a $2K a month package. I'm curious to know who has done this strategy or your thoughts on it." So Jeremy, what you're talking about here in essence is like, you want to go get a paid ads client, and what you want to do to like make it easy to get your foot in the door is like, let me just run some ads for free. And then like, show them it works, and then ultimately have them pay you long term. And I'll tell you, that strategy actually works really well, but, and there is a big but in it. I like big buts, and I cannot lie, but the big but is very, very simple, which is there are a lot of fucking pitfalls in that. And the first major pitfall in that is that you end up with a client who can't fucking pay you even if it works. And a lot of times we logically think like if you put your thing on in situations, it'll automatically work. I'll tell you a story of two roofers, and this was from my real experience, but it really kind of illustrates the point. So when Dan and I were doing some tests with like the kind of like revenue share model, we did this kind of with roofers, and we experimented as well with like pay per lead and different things like that. We were trying just different models. We got tired of selling SEO purely for retainer, and so we were on that kind of journey. And I remember one of the first clients we got was a roofer named Eddie in Louisiana. And I remember the first thing we did is we set up a few Craigslist ads and said like they had testimonials, and it made it look like 5-star roofing. And then we had the phone calls go to Eddie, and he was going to pay us when he closed a job. And I want you to really understand, this is what one of the actual phone calls went like. And we had a Twilio, like when Twilio was just in its early stages, and we recorded every call so I could like listen to the recording. And the call went something like this. The guy's calling a 5-star roofing company in his mind, and the phone gets picked up like this. "Hello? Yeah, is this 5-star roofing? Hello? Yeah, you need a roof, 1 second. Eddie, come answer the fucking phone. Why are you always talking to me, bitch? You always crazy, blah, 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 blah." And like 7 minutes of that fucking screaming. And eventually Eddie picks up the phone and says, "Yeah, this is Eddie. What you need, right?" And the guy's like, yeah, you do roofing? And he's like, yeah, I'll come out. I can give you a quote. And I always say this, but like this is the honest to God's truth. You would be shocked to learn that Eddie didn't land that deal. And so for a while I was just going through a phase where I thought roofers were all crazy. Actually, that was I thought. We had another guy too, actually. I remember he went, we sent him like what I thought was like potentially $1 million job. And I was like, did you land it? Like, I'm going to get a huge fucking commission. And he's like, oh shit. Like, we went drinking all last night. Like the 5 of us, I'm hungover as a motherfucker, but I will call that guy back later today, and we will go eventually check out that job. And he's like, 3 days later, they show up in a fucking giant hangover and don't land the fucking job. So the first pitfall that I illustrate in that story is if you choose the wrong people, which there are a lot of those kind of people in every industry, then there is nothing you're going to do to make Eddie a winner, and you will not get a long-term retainer out of Eddie, no matter how much you fantasize that I'm going to help Eddie win, and then it'll grow his business, and that's where the revenue will come from. Now, what does work is what Dan did eventually, which is a lot smarter than what I did actually in the roofing space. Anyway, Dan eventually found a roofer, and I call him the McLaren F1 guy. So for those of you guys who are not car people, the McLaren F1 was once the fastest production car in the world. It cost $1 million for a single car. And, like super, super fast. And he ended up getting a roofer, and this roofer had like 30 or 40 locations across multiple state lines. He had multiple crews. They had professional, they had reviews, they had websites, they had before and after pictures, all those kind of things. They had their own like custom vans, and they're all like, you get the idea. And anyways, the guy pulls up to the meeting in a McLaren F1. Dan says he walks out with a Gucci bag, and then plops it on the table, opens the Gucci bag, reaches in, grabs a drug dealer's stack of money, slaps it on the table in front of Dan and says, "I came here to spend money today. What's it going to cost me to get you?" And in my experience, if you choose the right clients in that scenario, like you get that second kind of roofer, like most of the value comes from them. So that's the first thing, is like choosing the right people. And I'll give you a real shortcut on this. It's the people who are already spending money to grow and advertise now, and it's the people who have built, some kind of sales team system or process. Even if it's like not perfect, the fact that it exists, like we have a CRM, we quote it, I send Doug out, Doug says these lines, he wears a professional shirt, we use this invoicing. Like there has to be a process, a system, a structure. And you don't want guys who fucking wing it. Now, and then the other thing is, I would also ask for, like, if you're after a $2K a month retainer, you may not think this part is important, but ask for like 10% of the revenue growth you create. So I wanted to go back to your question because there was something else I wanted to say on that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So having said that, I was going to say, if you pick the right partners, that strategy is great. This is what I wanted to talk about, the mindset of it. A lot of times, at least for me, when I was in kind of like those kind of beginning in a new market, new niche, new industry, there's a tendency to think like, if I could just get any old roofer, if I could just get any old chiropractor, and there's a tendency to like think about them like they're all equal and just feel like if you could get any client at all, it would be amazing. And it's very hard to realize you're the chooser. And so, like I said, the things you want to focus are on people who are actively spending money to grow and like have sales team system process of some kind, and ideally people who manage it in place. And what will happen is you'll end up with great partners, because the biggest waste of time that can happen in the process that you described is you go get an Eddie and you say, Eddie, like, I'm going to grow your shit. And then what ends up happening is you find out like nobody can help Eddie because Eddie got fucking drunk and had a fight with his wife. And like, he didn't go quote the job in 3 days if he went at all. Right. It's really like, it's impossible to have like a growth partner relationship. And the only way like these businesses work long term, like ideally what we want, whether it's revenue share or like retainer or like a monthly fee or whatever it is, however you want company stocks, like we all want clients that are going to be happy and pay over the long term. And if you go after like the wrong segment of the market, it becomes basically impossible. So that's my way of saying you have to feel like the chooser right from the beginning. Like, I'm only going to work with people who have like actively spending money. And then the flip side of that is when it works, there's room to grow, right? Because we don't think about this a lot of times when you're just trying to get a client. But like, even say you were able to be successful with Eddie, like he's one guy. Like, as soon as you get him 3 jobs in a week, Eddie's like, I got too much shit to do. Turn the funnel off. Like, holy shit, you're drowning me in work. As where the McLaren F1 guy has 30 different crews or 30 different locations and like 40, probably 100 different crews and all these company vans where they can go and be anywhere. And so when you give them 100 jobs, they can keep growing and keep spending more money with you, right? And so I think it helps to like really think about like clients as revenue partners, not as like a middle class poor value where you get hired, like it's so great to get hired, like, dear boss man, thanks for hiring me, but more like I picked you. And the most counterintuitive part of this, it took me a long time to realize this, is a lot of times I would see myself as the savior going to save a business that was struggling. And you actually want to help businesses that are already winning to win more. And this is counterintuitive, but the businesses who are winning more have more problems. Right? If you got 30 crews in 100 locations and you're spending advertising money, now you got to worry about a TV and media buying, and you got radio ads to worry about, and you got billboards, and you got our van, and Chuck called in sick this morning. Shit, how are we going to get that job covered if Chuck's sick, right? So they actually have way more problems. And so a lot of times we think we're going to save the struggling business, and you actually want to like take a winner who's already got, a $25 million business and help him grow it to 35, and you'll be a hero. Zach says 10% of the revenue, 2K, or only 10% of the revenue. I mean, you can go a lot of ways. It's just like, this is the hardest part for people to realize on the revenue share. It's just like whatever is agreeable and works to people long term. All I'm saying with that is like, with that, Zach, is like, and I saw a post the other day from Kazim Aslam about this, and I feel the same way. He said his biggest regret looking back is that he didn't ask for a share of the upside. Like, there's sometimes like you end up with a client where you grow them 5, 10, $20 million, and they're blown away with how it landed, and you're like, man, if I just asked for 10 little teeny tiny percent of that, I would have had a $4.5 million client. But here I was trying to sell a $1,000 a month retainer, and so instead of getting $3 million, I get 12,000 a year, right? So that's why I say that, like, just, ask them for hey, what would you be cool with as a percentage of the upside, and let them tell you. Like, anything you get, by the way, is going to be more than other agencies get. So that's my way just to saying, like, there's no harm in just asking for a share of the upside. So I hope that's helpful. That was a long rant, Jeremy. Good question, my man. Franco says, I launched my ads a few days ago, and here are the results for the first 7 days. I'm liking the results so far, but would want to start scaling. So 2 questions I hope anyone in here can help me with. 1, I want to increase my ad spend. Should I edit the budget on my existing campaign, or should I duplicate the campaign and run both, or maybe run a lookalike audience? My concern is if I edit the existing campaign's budget, would it affect its performance? Like, would it revert back to learning phase, or will just continue the use of previous data if I collected during the past 7 days? I want to increase, part 2, I want to increase my link clicks and landing page views. So my first thought is I would ever have to improve either my ad copy, my creative. Does anyone know of a mini course for free or training that teaches how to optimize and create better ad copy creatives? Franco, I hope I'm going to make this whole process easier on you, because a lot of times the value that like Facebook ads are going to generate for you in terms of revenue and business, a lot of times I feel like people focus on all the buttons, bells, and whistles that don't really matter. And they forget that the most important thing is that there's actually a person on the other side. And I'll tell you just my experience with it. So I've spent, I don't know, like over the years, like hundreds of thousands of my own money on Facebook ad, and as well as millions and millions for clients. And I'll tell you, having spent a lot of fucking money on Facebook ads, in the beginning, I did what everybody says you have to do. Scale only winners by this much. Lookalike audience. Split test this against split test. And it became a mountain of fucking work to stay on top of all those little tests. And at the end of the day, the whole system was not working the way I wanted it to work. And it was like becoming a fucking nightmare to manage. And what really straightened it out for me was actually a guy whose ads were so good, they changed the way I thought about Facebook ads, and I never actually paid him. But the guy ran some ads called Brad's Ads, and he described that same journey, and he said ultimately, like, I just wanted to make sales. Like, I didn't really, at a profit. I didn't really care if it was like a $7 lead or $5.50. Like, as long as the whole machine is working, like, who gives a fuck what the numbers are? And what ends up happening is I think a lot of people like major in the minors. And so Perry Marshall calls this forest, trees, leaves. And the idea is, like, if you think of a forest, it's a really big thing. It's a giant collection of trees. There are also trees, which are like medium-sized things. Like a tree is big if you're standing next to it. But on that tree, there might be a leaf, and a leaf is a small thing. And what happens is a lot of times people test leaves. Red button, green button. Say this word versus that word. This target versus that target. And what happens is you always move the needle a little bit, but it's a leaf. Like, how much you can have changed a whole big picture with a leaf? Whether, like, green button, red button, don't make that big fucking deal of difference. And then there's, like, the medium-sized shit. And to skip you the whole journey, like, what I found to be the big shit on Facebook ads are 4 things. Who you show ads to, in other words, targeting. What you offer those people in that ad, in other words, like, what are you actually giving away that's of value? The messaging, how do you say, this is what I'm giving away? And the image you use to grab their attention. And so, in your particular case, I have a rule with ads kind of anywhere. When something's already working, like, I don't mess with it. I just, like, leave that alone. So in your case, like, to make that first part of the question, I'm just telling you what I would do in your shoes. This is not, like, gospel or anything like that. But I would duplicate an ad or try something else before I would mess with something that's working that you want to scale, because you always risk throwing off algorithms and restarting something that's working. But having said that, you mentioned things that you want to go up. You want your clicks and your landing page views. And ultimately, I know this, you want this to lead to sales. And I'll tell you, what most people don't think about is a landing page is just a page to give something away. That's really it. And whether you're giving away the opportunity of a phone call or a strategy session or download my free guide, like, you're ultimately giving something away, which is an offer. And so what would better serve you than worrying about all the bells and whistles and all the buttons and all the do I duplicate this and lookalike audience that is like, what do I actually give away to the person on the other side of the page, and who do I want to actually see this? And if you focus on nailing that piece, what you'll find is all your targeting works better, all your ads work better, all your copy, the images are easier to create because it actually has like a focus and all of those things. And I'll tell you, like, man, I tested so many leaves. Like I had like there was a period we became obsessed with trying images. I had like, and I was trying to target lawyers, so I had like a cat holding a briefcase. How about versus a dog? Cat versus dog. What about blue briefcase versus yellow one? And we had like thousands and thousands of retarded split tests. And at the end of the day, none of them made any fucking difference. But I'll tell you what did make a giant difference for us is we tried to download like a one-page guide. And I remember like one of the ones we had is like, this is the 26-point referral checklist that covers all the things the top lawyers in the world are using to generate referrals. Like, how many of them are you doing? Go here, enter your name and email, and you can see what the other top guys are doing. And that thing crushed it. Never stopped crushing it. I could probably roll it out today and crush it some more with that. It's pretty evergreen, right? Like, lawyers want referrals, and that's not going away. They want to know how the top guys are getting it. So that's my way of saying, like, just focus on the offer and the person and, like, actually having a real value exchange. And, man, you'll make the bells and whistles a lot easier on Facebook. Facebook, in my experience, I know it has, like, a bazillion buttons, and I'm not saying they all don't matter, but I'm saying the 4 things that matter the most: who you show ads to, what you offer them, what you say them, and how you generate or demonstrate that in an image. And if you focus on those 4 things, like, you'll scale easier. And there'll be a lot less things to think about. And here's the beautiful thing. When I started doing it the Brad's ads kind of way, I would just sometimes run one fucking ad. I take my best idea, I put it in an ad, and I try it. And I give it like a week, and it either works or it doesn't, but I don't have to manage. And sometimes I would have more than one good idea, so I might run 2. Now, but a split test of 2, right? Like, it was way easier than when we had 1,000 variations, and there's button, you got to check all your stats. Takes you a fucking hour and a half just to even see where your stats are going. So that's my way of saying, like, dude, just nail the offer and you'll be amazed at how your life will get easier. And think about, like, you know, what the person on the other side really wants. So I hope that's helpful. Our man Kath says, Frankie, I'm going to run an email campaign to get reviews. Do you recommend offering a discount in exchange for the reviews? I don't want Google to suspend my client's listing. So firstly, Kath, I don't like offering discounts in general. There are exceptions, so, like, I'm not saying I've never offered a discount on something, but a lot of times, like, if you actually think about what makes people buy at a discount, like why people go crazy on Black Friday for, like, this shit's on sale, and, like, I don't know if you've ever seen, Kath, I'm not sure if you're an American, but like, people kill each other over Black Friday sales. Like, it gets crazy in stores. And a sale is just higher than normal value. And they do that by reducing the price and keeping the amount of stuff. That's one way to do it. But I like increasing the value of the stuff and keeping the price where it is, or raising it. And a lot of times when you do this right, and I'll tell you, one of the easiest giveaways, whether you really feel like your shit is, like, crazy valuable for the price, is when you feel like, holy shit, like, I'm giving away this thing to the other person. I'm giving them the farm for this price. Like, holy crap, when you have that, chances are you got, like, a really awesome offer. So that's my way of saying, like, I don't know what your client does or in what industry, but, like, there's a lot of ways you can add value. Like, hey, we got you a $10. We would love a review, and to just as our way of saying thank you, because you're all so nice, I'd love to give you a $10 Starbucks gift card. I'll drop it off at your house. Just let us know if you're able to leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. So there's lots of ways to add value, right? Like, instead of discounting price, like, give them, like, if you're going to discount the price $10, give them something worth $10. Like, that to me is a better way of doing it. And obviously this is, like, just being real with you. From my understanding anyway, this is a gray hat area in Google. Google does not like you giving shit away to get reviews. So just keep that part on the down low. Everybody does it, just so you know. Everybody does what you're describing. But I believe by the official rules, it is against them. But that's it. Like, you just ask for it, and if you and by the way, if you just ask them, they'll do it, even without, like, bribing them. If you just say, hey, it would mean the world to us if you left us a nice review. Here's the link. They'll go do it, right? You don't even need to do anything more than that. But you'll get even more if you say, and as our way of saying thank you, we'd like to give you a ... Oh, and I was going to say, by the way, gift certificates are perceived higher than coupons. So, like, say they have a $100 thing, and you're like, we're going to run 20% off. It's way better to say, we'll give you a 20% gift certificate to buy our $100 thing. And then they feel like they're getting something, not like you're taking price off. So, little shift, but it makes a big difference in perception. Nathan says, the easiest way to grow your business is to reallocate your hours towards revenue-generating tasks. By the way, we're going to have Nathan on the show. This was not really a question, but I liked his comment and wanted to kind of expand on it. So he's right, by the way. You want to grow this business. Revenue generating activities are the way. But I'll tell you, that's not what most people do. And the revenue generating activity depends on what stage of the journey you're in. So there's different journeys you go for. When you start, like, the company is just you. There's nobody else. You're the janitor and the CEO and everybody. And then eventually, like, you have a small team around you, but you're probably still doing a lot of the work. You're like the leader of the team, but you still do a lot of the day-to-day stuff. Eventually, you get big enough that you function just like a manager, where you got a whole team and they do the day-to-day and you oversee it and you look at numbers and you kind of do that. And if you want to keep going, you can get even bigger than that, where you're like a CEO and you own a sellable machine. And then there's lots of challenges with being able to do that at scale and keeping the quality. And then there is the whole, if you want to, you can get into like level 5 where you start franchising. And so they're different revenue generating activities. And I'll tell you, for the people in stages 1, 2, and 3, which encompasses like 99% of you guys who are watching this, stage 1, people just do too many things that they think are going to bring them clients that aren't. And so a lot of things they think are like updating their website. I'm going to make a blog post today and I'm going to fix my logo and things like that. And the only thing is, like, pick a niche and go have conversations with the people in it. Everything else is like not revenue generating in that stage very early on. Stage 2, what shifts is a lot of ways. The reason you're starting to hire people is because you know how to sell it. You know how to get people in. But the bottleneck will almost always become your deliverable. And so the thing that'll actually like unlock you in your revenue is to bring in the kind of people who like basically allow you to step back and you know, like the machine can almost grow without you, and the things that need to get done. And for that to happen, you got to get good at hiring. So like hiring is your highest ROI kind of thing typically, even though it doesn't kind of directly look like an ROI thing. Is like the more you get good people in, the more you buy your time. And what you're really doing that matters is you're expanding capacity. In the managerial stage, it's a lot of like what I call, hey, do you got a minute? For those of you guys who are in that stage, it's like employees come to you all day long, go, hey, do you got a minute, boss? You got a minute for this? You got a minute? I got to reset my password, blah, 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 and I need you to click the damn authentic. You got a minute for this? Hey, you got a minute? I just have a quick question about the site we're doing over here. Quick, you know, like that's level 3. And the revenue generating activity is reducing the business down to boring KPIs and then working the numbers. So like we had this many leads, we had this many sales, we made this many offers, we had this many clients. This is where we're at in onboarding. This is like how long these clients have been around. This is where a report of where we're at with each one. And you can like look at 10 numbers and know exactly what's going on and going, why are we so far behind on delivery? Well, you know, we've had a few people sick and we had someone quit. Are we getting somebody in to replace that one? Not yet. Well, get on that shit, right? We need a replacement. They're going to stop this whole machine. And so what happens in that stage is revenue generating activities is getting KPI reports and then making strategic decisions that move everything forward that matters, because half the battle is just figuring out what matters in that stage. It's almost like flying an airplane where you need to like, you know, have a guidance system. Otherwise, you're just like looking out the window going, I think I'm going the right direction. But it kind of just looks all like ocean in every direction, right? So I hope that's helpful to you guys in your different stages, that you can help you, you know, just focus on what actually moves the needle forward and all that good stuff. Last one we got up is Whitney says, I'm looking for a WordPress plugin to generate SEO audits for prospects. Any suggestions? Whitney, this is not, again, like not gospel. I always hate when gurus or mentors are like, this is the way, you gotta fucking do this, you gotta book appointments. Like, I hate when I hear that shit, because it evangelizes markets, and this is the truth that not everybody wants to hear. There's more than one way to be successful, but this is what's worked for Frankie Finn. So if you want to use it, use it. And I, just so you guys know, I did SEO reports for like 7-8 years, sold a lot of SEO and did a lot of proposals and all those things. And then I took a massive break for it. And in our white label stuff, I'm back to like at times making SEO kind of presentations and selling the work. Although we're currently in the process of bringing somebody in and getting me out of that. But anyway, the first thing is before you start talking about SEO, you have to know what the person wants and what SEO is ultimately a means to an end. And I'll tell you, in most markets, they want specific types of people, work, jobs, clients, customers, and not just anybody and everybody. And it's important to make that distinction because a lot of times we just say, like, I'm going to bring you more leads. But I can tell you, like, a lawyer, for example, covets a very expensive case, right? Like somebody who's really hurt in an accident, a motorcycle accident or a trucking accident, because there's a lot to legally dispute if there's damages and people were hurt, and therefore, there's potentially millions of dollars in it for them. So they're not just after like leads. This is true in every market, including yours, by the way. Like I call this the $100 bill. And if you want to get good at SEO, there's two things that I've found that drives the sales is the specific things like types of people that they want coming through the door. And maybe, I guess there's three things that kind of jump to mind. So the second thing is like the reason they sought out that today, like the why. And like a lot of times businesses reach out during slow periods when it's not going so well. Hey, we went through rapid expansion. We were too busy. Everything was crazy. But now it's kind of quiet. Like Larry didn't even have a client today, right? So like, what are we going to do, right? And then the other thing that is universally true of local businesses especially, but also true online, is they know all their direct competitors by name and they hate them. It's amazing to me. Like plumbers know the other top 3 plumbers and hate them. Lawyers know the other top 3 lawyers and they hate them. Like they're just like, they're in a competitive space and they feel like they're stepping on each other's toes and they're competing over the same kind of work. So they tend not to like each other. And so the reason I say this is when you're making an SEO report, if you can hit on those 3 things along the way, like, hey, we'd like to use SEO to bring you this kind of person. We would like to use SEO to help solve this kind of problem in your business. And what we really want to do is distance yourself from these 3 people that you don't like. You're going to sell a lot of SEO in general because that hits on like all the reasons. The SEO is secondary, by the way, to those 3 things. And so what I do when making an SEO report is I simply pull up a couple of keywords that represent the things that they want to get. And then I show them empirically that the people they don't like are usually ahead of them. And I explain that if we switch the order of those things through this process, then you will get that kind of person instead of them. And the bulk of that will go towards you. And what we need to achieve that is A, B, and C. And then you just lay out whatever you're going to do. I'm going to build links. I'm going to optimize your listing or whatever it is, like your SEO process. But if you try and make it purely about the tools, which I'll tell you what we use for that is a tool called Lead Snap. It lets you pull up and big shout out to Lane Hook, who's done some fucking awesome work for us, by the way. Lane at Quantum Agency, like he's the one who showed me Lead Snap and how to like basically pull up a map and show them like this is how you're ranking all over the place, and it makes it a nice pretty color and it's very visual and it's easy to show a client empirically like, dude, you need work right here, you're number 4, number 5, how am I supposed to fucking get you business if you're number 7, right? So I hope that's helpful to you, Whitney. That's what's working and has worked for more than a decade for us. And it's really not about the SEO. But having said that, there's lots of good tools. SEMrush is another good one. Ahrefs. I forget what it's called now, but it used to be called Open Site Explorer. So that's all I got for you guys. I should just mention one more time, for those of you guys who missed the intro, Big Daddy over here has put together an affiliate program for us, and what I'm hoping this will do for you guys, will be able to sell our stuff and keep 100% of the money in order to help us grow this. I believe in you guys and what you're building, and I think like we need to bring back the reputation to our industry, like where marketers are not sleazy scumbags who will say and do anything, but more like, hey, we're good people that want to serve you well and want to be growth partners and have your business succeed. and win with you in that process. And you guys represent that. So as part of that, my way of saying thank you is like, I'm just going to pay you guys a bunch of money to do nothing other than just share a little link from time to time when somebody could benefit from it. And we're just finishing the tech side of it. So I just got an email from Martin's today. I have to like log in and set some pricing and create some products and a few things like that. But for the most part, we're almost finished with that. And by the way, big shout out to Martin Freely, who, for those of you guys who like just need like good fucking tech people who like can figure shit out. Like Martin is a genius. He's done tons of cool stuff he's helped us migrate our website. He's helped us set up our affiliate program. He's helped us set up some payment programs, some integrations. He's helped us send automated letters to clients when they sign up. So like he's helped us automate some of our onboarding, and he's just a really good dude. And he's a dad like me. Too many kids out there. So that's all I got for you guys. And as I mentioned, as well, we're going to be doing a big facelift in the Wolfpack. I kind of wrote down some notes on this, but to give you guys a little preview. I kind of talked about this in the Ultimate Guide for Cold Outreach, but what I want to help folks to do is to do what I call one-to-many outreach. What everybody thinks you got to do to grow this business is knock on a bazillion doors. That's the internet bukkake shotgun approach. I like to help people identify a target like, hey, there's a guy, and if you're trying to get to dentists, there's a guy who's got a podcast that has 10,000 dentists who listen to it. Let's get you as a featured guest on there and use that as kind of the approach, kind of rather than just this like, let's spray and pray. And I think when you prospect one to many, it's game changer in terms of like the leverage, because now you can simultaneously talk to 10,000 people in your industry and you don't have to go like prospecting one-to-one. And then you simply do a presentation to the group. And the best part of this is it disqualifies people who don't have money. Like a lot of times people spend an hour and a half on the phone trying to convince somebody who would never fucking buy in the first place and will never buy in the future. And, they try and try and try. And that just like wastes insane amounts of time. As where when you do it to a big group all at once, the ones who want to buy step forward after, and the ones who don't, either take some value away from what you said and like go on their merry way. So it's like, I think it changes the game when you get into like being able to prospect one to many. And then what happens is like in that process, people will reach out to you and say like, hey, I'm interested in your blah, blah, blah. I saw your thing on blah, blah, blah. I'm interested. And then what we like to do is send them a video that like takes them 99% of the way. So that, and typically often actually we'll have people just buy it straight from the video. Sometimes they have a last minute question or two, but a lot of times it's just like, all right, I paid, let's go. And you'd be amazed that you can like sign up people that you've never talked to by giving one-to-many presentations and closing over video. And it is I'm a bigger believer in inbound, like a pull machine, not a push machine. All right. Like that's kind of the magic of that. And then what we do is if they have a question or two, like the close, the last little part is like just done one-on-one over text. Sometimes I do this in email. Sometimes I do this on Facebook Messenger. Sometimes I do this on SMS. But we don't chase folks. Like I'm sure some of you guys like don't even have the time to chase folks. Especially those of you guys like me who got like, I got 3 little monsters. Like they're hungry. They want shit. They need me, right? Like all day long. So it's not like I can go like spend all day talking to some stranger for an hour and trying to convince him to buy some shit that he's not going to buy anyway. So we're getting away from that whole sales is convincing, and we don't convince people. And that's what the Wolfpack's going to be about in the next year. I'm going to be doing some updates on the video. We had some like pretty crazy results. Like, obviously, there's always a spectrum. Like we have folks all over the board, but some of the folks like the wins we've had financially. I'm not a brag about Stripe screenshots because I think it brings the wrong kind of people. But let's just say like, we had some people who could buy like a mega supercar or house in like a week. I'm not saying those are typical average results, but they do happen. Yeah. I see this message from Zach. I missed the barefoot always says, how come we would buy 10 leads with no guarantee of making sales? Exactly, man. So, but that's the process we're moving towards. If that kind of vibes with you, and I'll tell you what I like about it, it brings people to you as the expert instead of like you being like the door-to-door salesman who's just like an annoyance at the door, to be like a pest to be pushed away. It brings people to you in the sense of like, hey, I watched your thing. I watched all, listen to this, saw that, and they come to you, and that's really it. And I'm building some tools as well inside the Wolfpack to help folks doing that. It's probably been slower than I like the last 6 months. That, you know, one of my goals is to increase efficiency on that. But, you know, it's all a process. It's all a journey. And, you know, we've been building a team of people that can support you guys in doing that. So, like, a lot of times people say to me, how do I find out where to aim? We can generate a list for you of, like, this is everybody in your market. Who's anybody that's worth talking to? These are the, you know, the 100 biggest names. Let's work these 100 biggest names. And I've heard a few of the wiser agency gurus talking about this. You're like literally most times, like all it takes to get to 7 figures, which is the goal for a lot of you guys I know, is just like one good partnership. And I experienced this a few times firsthand in my life. So like what I'm not saying this from like a theoretical, like there was my first agency, just so you guys know, we did plastic surgery SEO. And I had a guy come to me and he said, hey, I have this client who's a plastic surgeon and we want to rank them and we're, want to know if we gave you 30 days, do you think you could do something with that? And I said, yeah, I won't get you number one, but I can definitely show you movement in 30 days. And so I ended up doing that. And then he handed me a second doctor. And then like when he was doing it with 10 and it was working for them, then all of a sudden 10 became 20 and 50. And like we signed 3 to 5 clients a week for like 6 months straight. And I didn't even talk to anybody because I was like a white label partner back in those days, even though white label was not even a term yet. So that was my first agency, and it was like literally just one guy who came one day and said, I got one client. I found out later he went to all the plastic surgery conferences and he sold 1 billion websites, and he was looking for somebody to be his SEO kind of back of house because clients kept asking him for it. And so he had tried a couple of guys and he liked our work and just kept sending us more. In the legal space, I remember I got a lawyer on a call and he was already doing all the things I would recommend better than I would, you know, implement them. And so I was like, dude, like, I don't have anything for you other than like, kudos to you for being so on top of this. I found out later he owned the industry association, or one of them anyway. There's more than one. But and he invited me to come speak at one of his conferences. And then once you speak at one, like, hey, do you want to go to another one? And then they see you at one conference, they invite you to others. Before you knew it, like I was, you know, speaking every weekend. And when we would speak, like, you know, depending on the conference, but it's not abnormal to walk off stage and pick up 5, 10, 15 clients, and not always like immediately. Sometimes they won't just hand you the credit card on the spot, but they'll like schedule a meeting for next Tuesday. And some of the calls, just to give you guys an idea how much better it is inbound once you've like qualified them as an expert. I remember one lady showed up once and said this on a sales call with me, was something like, actually, to be honest with you, we don't even know what you sell, but we want to buy it. So like, tell us how we work together. And it's like, you know, you'd have to be a fool to screw those ones up. If you compare that to what most people are doing, they're trying to get a stranger who knows nothing about them to jump on a call and waste an hour trying to convince them. Or you can spend an hour just crafting something meaningful and valuable to an audience of them, share it. And usually, like I say, the easiest way to do that is give away the ideas and charge for the implementation. So just show folks how to do what you do. And most of them won't want to do it. They'd much rather you just do it for them. And that's it. So if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, I'll have some updates on that, but we're doing some facelift. I haven't decided how much I'm going to expand it from where it's at. There's always a balance between, I wish I could help 1 million of you guys because like legit, you guys are the coolest, balanced with like, I got 3 kids, other businesses, you know, shit to do. So we'll see where that line shows up. But anyways, there'll be some updates on that. And that's all I got for you guys. Much love. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the coolest. I hope you have an awesome Monday. And I'm going to go party over here, so peace out. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US. How to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.